Hello, as they say. I'm from California, and we have a spending problem. I don't need any pictures and stuff. I've got this red paint behind me. It fits my theme exactly. And if you read TED backwards, debt. That's what this is all about. Now, California's fiscal situation is a disaster. Our budget is almost 90 days late. The deficit is officially 19.1 billion. It's actually 26. That's what the Christian Science Monitor says, and they're right. Every day of delay costs the state the money it needs to meet immediate obligations. Every day costs from $25 to $50 million. We have wasted this year alone, 200 to 400 million. It isn't clear how much, but it's in there. It's in that range. Unfunded spending has also ruined our credit. We have gone as a state in 1989 from a AAA rating to one level higher than junk. That, considering our debt of $290 billion, that is costing the state hundreds of millions of dollars a year. The financial damage is only part of the picture. The rest of it is what's happening to social services. The agencies that serve our poor, our elderly, our young, are the hardest hit. Our education system has deteriorated. Our higher education system used to be the best in the world, is now in pathetic shape. And when California does adopt a budget, it's a phony budget. It's based on gimmicks, illusions, and deceit. Political considerations trump sound accounting principles. None of this is supposed to happen. The Constitution says that the legislature has to adopt a budget every year by June 30th. That's what it says explicitly. Legislators sworn to uphold the Constitution have instead ignored this mandate. The balanced budget bill has been late in 23 of the last 24 years. What should be done? I believe, along with others who have formed Californians for Budget Accountability, none of us gets paid. This is a volunteer effort on our part. That the solution is to hold legislators accountable for failing to adopt timely budgets that are real by removing them from office. A harsh remedy for a desperate situation. Let me tell you why this remedy is necessary and appropriate. Now, on the ballot this year, you'll see Proposition 25, and people are arguing that it should be passed because it will make it easier to pass a balanced budget. Of course it will. It's going to reduce the vote required from 2/3 to a majority. And others claim we should just simply reduce the 2/3 requirement for tax bills to a majority. And I obviously have to concede that if you reduce those supermajorities to a simple majority, it is going to be a lot easier to pass a budget and to increase taxes. But the last time anyone tried to convince the Californian voters to reduce the vote required for taxes, that proposition was voted down 2-1. And that's what is likely to happen again to 25. Now, the people who propose 25 have added an element. They say the legislators who have a late budget will forfeit their salaries for the period in which the budget has not been adopted. Well, there is going to be a budget. And this is a suggestion that tries to dress up Proposition 25 as a responsible measure. The people are going to see that the real issue is, do they want a legislature able to adopt a budget with a majority vote instead of a 2/3 vote? Now, the proponents also say that we're only talking about the budget. We're not talking about tax bills. But I ask you, if they're right, which they probably aren't, but if they're right, how responsible is it to allow a legislature to adopt a budget based on taxes that you can't get passed because you're going to have a 2/3 majority to pass those taxes? That is just another level of depravity for this state's fiscal situation. So, the Proposition 25 also does nothing about the accounting gimmickry and all that other stuff. Now, it's legitimate to try to convince voters to adopt a lesser majority. But it is wrong to claim that voter-mandated supermajorities are undemocratic. Democracy starts with voters, not legislators who think they know better what taxes to impose and on what revenues should be spent. Now, some claim that simple majorities are necessary simply because California needs higher taxes. I just want to remind you that California has the 6th highest level of taxation of the 50 states in the country. Just last February, we adopted the highest tax increase in the state's history. $12.8 billion in the middle of a recession. And you wonder why we have a 12% unemployment rate. Nor is it accurate to view California as being trapped in a hopeless straitjacket of spending requirements. Much can be done to reduce spending other than cutting education and health care. Current and future liabilities for pensions is the most outstanding thing that needs to be done. What was not supposed to cost taxpayers a dime as in the legislation in '99 that created the new pension system for employees has already cost the state $15 billion and now represents a massive unfunded liability. I tell you, it is possible to stop illegal deficit spending in California without making it easier to tax. The amendment proposed by Californians for Budget Accountability would remove all legislators from office if they fail to adopt a balanced budget on time. Think of it. If a legislature disobeys the Constitution, its members disappear from public life. Removal is necessary. California's legislators have repeatedly and deliberately refused to obey the law. Individual districts keep re-electing people who ignore statewide obligations. Removal is also appropriate. The damage caused by legislative irresponsibility is far greater than that caused by actions considered felonious under California law. Our legislators are destroying the state financially and setting a standard of conduct that corrodes respect for the law. Our proposed amendment will also require the budget be based on sound and professional accounting. We do that by building an audit process into California's budgeting process. California's budgets are notoriously fraudulent. They make Enron's accounting look good. Legislators and even our governor have shown themselves unable to resist unprofessional and dishonest pretense to close gaps. Implementing the amendment we propose is not going to be easy, but it can be done, and for two reasons. The first is this amendment is nonpartisan. A timely and genuine budget bill is a collective responsibility that applies to would-be spenders and anti-taxers alike. Politicians of both parties are to blame when budget bills are late and phony. Democrats spend money they cannot raise. Republicans allow massive deficit spending and budgetary gimmicks. Our governor has not been the terminator when it comes to irresponsible budgeting. The other reason voters will adopt our amendment is because of the frustration they feel in being disregarded. Is the reason we have late, unbalanced, and phony budgets too much democracy? Or is it because we have a runaway legislature of politicians who fail to abide by democratic decisions and constitutional requirements? Our proposed amendment will dramatically alter the rules for California's politicians. The prospect of an entire legislature being removed for failing to do their duty will transform the legislative process as we know it today. But that is precisely what is needed. Legislators must be responsible managers, not willful prima donnas. It is particularly exciting to anticipate that the Budget Accountability Amendment will not only change politics in California for the better, but could also set an example for other states where balanced budget requirements are flagrantly disobeyed. What could be more appropriate than the message this amendment sends? Lawbreakers are unfit to serve as lawmakers. This is a lesson we need to teach not just politicians, but our children and our country as a whole. We would welcome your support in this effort to restore good government and prosperity in California. Help us straighten out the fiscal mess in California and set an example for the nation. Thank you.